Hello and welcome to this edition of the Sports Den Live. My name is Domenic Papa. Congratulations goes out to the Windsor Stars Soccer Club. They win again on the road against Kingston, 2 wins in a row, and they're getting themselves back in contention. They'll be at home this weekend against the Woodbridge Strikers on Saturday, August 23rd, 7 p.m. out at the McHugh Soccer Complex if you want to take in some great League One Ontario soccer action. Also, got to give a shout out to the Essex Ravens. They don't come up with a championship, but certainly an outstanding campaign. They came up a little bit short against Ottawa Myers, but Glenn Mills and the gang representing the area very well and doing an outstanding job there. Also, Al Bernacki and the Windsor Junior Selects. They have to settle for a bronze medal. I'm sure they're not too happy with that, but third best in the country is nothing to be ashamed of. Another great campaign put together by Al Bernacki and the team. And speaking of baseball, we wish Jamie Kell and the Tecumseh Thunder the best of luck this upcoming weekend as they participate in the Canadian Senior Championships. And Windsor AKO Fratman football is back in play as they're on the road this weekend. They'll be on the road to start their OFC schedule. They'll come back home next weekend. We'll get into that in just a moment. On this edition of the Sports Den, we're going to talk about some hockey, actually. Big news out of the hockey world. It took 10 years to get a settlement, but it's done. The Bertuzzi-Steve Moore incident is now history. We'll get the panel's thought on that and thought about it being settled out of court. Also, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, is back in the news, of course, flipping the bird on Monday Night Football, National Football telecast against the Washington Redskins. Johnny's just not helping himself. We'll see what the panel has to say about that. And if time does allow us, we are going to talk a little bit of Tigers baseball. Are the Tigers in trouble? Will they make the playoffs? We'll see what the panel has to say about that. Of course, if you do want to participate in the show, you can follow us on Twitter and you could tweet in at Sports Den Live. We'd love to hear from you. If I get time, I will read your question or certainly read your comment. We always get some interesting comments on. So feel free to participate in our show. And at the end of the show, you're going to want to stick around because one of our 3 panelists, and I'm not going to tell you who, but one of them is going to take the Ice Bucket Challenge, and we'll have it for you. And he's going to issue a challenge of his own. So stay tuned for that at the end of this edition of the Sports Den. Let's get to the panel. A good hockey man, a good sportsman. He's part of our Westby Selection Committee. Does a great job there for us. He's very well known in hockey circles. A lot of success, a lot of years. Mr. Greg Primack is in the studio with us. Did I get all that in, Greg?
I think so.
Okay, good stuff. Good to have you on the show. Look at this guy is in game shape, folks. Greg Primack, he's down a few pounds. You're working at this.
Yeah. My wife and I have been working at it pretty hard for 5 months. So.
Going back into the modeling career or something?
Yeah, right. No, just trying to keep in shape.
Now, you're a free agent of sorts, I guess, but you're still going to be involved in some hockey and doing some
At
things.
the present time, I'm not.
Yeah.
Things sort of went sideways in Amherstburg this year, but other than that, I still have a son that's going to be playing there or somewhere, and we'll just see how it goes from there.
You'll be doing some stuff with We Television for sure. So
I will do that.
We will look forward to your comments there for sure, but thanks for coming in today. Also on the show, an outstanding baseball man with the Riverside Minor Baseball Association. He's also the president of the Essex County Senior Men's Baseball League, a league that we follow religiously each Sunday morning on the local line of sports on AM 800 CKLW. Mr. Patrick Plummer is in the studio with us. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you.
A newlywed.
I am.
Yes, just a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, a couple of weeks, actually the 3rd of August.
Yeah. So married life is good?
Married life is good.
Yeah, everything's good?
Can't complain.
And you're still able to fill in a baseball schedule this year, and the Senior Men's League just came to a close.
Just closed on Sunday, actually 2 days after we got back from our honeymoon. And fantastic Sunday, featured an Amherstburg and Woodsley doubleheader. Amherstburg had gone undefeated through the round robin. Woodsley had to beat them twice, and sure enough, they did.
Oh, okay.
They came out for twice in a year.
That league doesn't get a lot of credit I think it deserves. It's pretty good.
We're trying to build it. We built it up to 9 teams this year, and word on the street is we may see up to 11 join us for next season.
All right, well, good stuff. Congratulations on the wedding.
Thank you.
And also on the league. Also in the studio, we mentioned the Essex Ravens coming up a little bit short. Again, very good year for the Ravens, though, and tremendous coaching staff there. Part of that coaching staff is the gentleman joining us here. He also helps us out with the Westby Awards on our selection committee. Mr. Joel Monerick joins us.
Hey, Dominic.
Over that?
Not yet.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Always is, yeah.
The game itself, Joe, there was some questionable calls. When you've looked at the tape now, I'm sure you and Coach Mills have looked at it. Do you still see them being questionable?
Oh, at the time you think it is for sure. I mean, there's really one that kind of only sticks out in my mind as towards the end of the game when we get a late. It was 3rd and 18, forced an incompletion, and they call us for a late hit on a receiver as he's bobbling the ball. Judgment call. They conferenced for about 2 minutes. I thought maybe there was a shot they're going to overturn the call, but they didn't. They came out and gave Ottawa another first down, and they were able to get within enough field distance to kick the single.
Yeah. Tough way to lose, that's for sure. That 1 point, things like that. But a great year nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean you can't.
You only lost 2 games all year.
Yeah,
so.
and the kids, they just battled the entire game, and then so proud of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congrats on a great season. Job well done for sure. Again, at the end of the show, one of these 3 gentlemen will be doing the Ice Bucket Challenge. I'll let you know. You can try to guess which one did it. We pre-taped it, and we'll air that for you. And there's also going to be a challenge issued by one of these gentlemen. So if you want to tweet in and try to figure out who's taking the Ice Bucket Challenge, go ahead. If you want to talk about the topics we're going to talk about, please contact us and ask us or let us know what you think. We're going to talk about the Bertuzzi-Steve Moore situation first, the out-of-court settlement. It took 10 years of the incident taking place in 2004. There was going to be a lawsuit. Apparently it was going to be about $68 million. Steve Moore suing the Vancouver Canucks, Todd Bertuzzi, and I would imagine the NHL was going to get named in this thing somewhere down the road. But everybody's happy today because they settled out of court. What do you make of that? Should we read into that? This couldn't have been a better situation for the NHL, I don't think.
Well, I think they were happy that it got settled out of court. I do think Mark Crawford was named in the lawsuit as well as
he was
the
coaching at
Vancouver
the time.
Canucks. He was coaching, seeing as it was 10 years ago. I believe, the incident was obviously well served being settled out of court, so that they could get on with the season and get it cleared up before the season started, for sure.
How damaging could this have been if it does get to a court? I know it's hypothetical, but how damaging could it have been?
I don't think a situation like that ever gets to court where they're going to actually litigate it in court. There's just too much to lose on both sides. Mm-hmm. So the easy way out, if there is an easy way out, is to settle and the confidentiality agreement in there that no one can talk.
Well, we knew that was coming.
So you never know what's going on, and so it's at the end of the day, it's always about money.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Pat?
I fully agree. It had to be out of court. Whether it was damaging, it was 10 years ago. It's obviously news we all remember, but you're going back. They got to keep it out of court, got to keep hockey being Canada's #1 sport. They got to keep it as clean as possible at this point.
Yeah, but doesn't it send a kind of a message that hockey is going to make its own rules? And we're going to take a look at it. Here's the incident, but kind of says hockey makes its own rules here. And some people to this day think maybe it wasn't that severe. I don't know. The video tells a lot, I guess.
Well, Dom, I think there was a lot that led up to that. I think there was a bounty put on.
For sure.
There was a bounty put on Moore by his coach.
There was talk about Brad May that he had issued a bounty.
Absolutely.
Matt Cook had fought with Moore earlier.
Mm-hmm. And I believe he injured one of the Vancouver players in a previous game, and that's why this was
Marcus Naslund.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So, and if you look at it, that probably happens a lot in hockey throughout North America, that type of an incident where someone jumped him. He happened to break his neck when he fell. If he hadn't have, I wouldn't have got the exposure that it did. I'm not saying what happened is okay, but that does happen where someone jumps a guy. You've probably seen it 10 times in the OHL this year. And or in any other
over the
league.
years,
over the years. Yeah. And again, he broke his neck, and that's what escalated to the point it got. So unfortunately, it got to that point, but they settled it, and there'll be a lot less problems down the road because it's been settled. So.
Yeah, I think the concern too, as well, and again, the panel can comment on this, was just the way Bertuzzi approached Moore, grabbed him from behind, and then threw the first punch without even Moore being able to see it coming. Calling it the sucker punch. That led to Moore's falling. I agree with you, Greg. I think everything else that took place was when he hit the ice pretty hard, I would imagine. But from that standpoint, Greg's right. I think it's happened over the years. Is it fair to call this almost an isolated incident?
No, isn't it? Isn't that the way hockey is? They self-police, and that's how it works out. And unfortunately, as Greg mentioned, he fell awkwardly, broke his neck. If he doesn't fall that way, or if he holds him up a little bit, No one says anything. He says, at that point, Bertuzzi was doing what he's supposed to do in the unwritten rules in the NHL. The circumstances that followed are really what escalated everything.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Pat.
There's no question that if he didn't get as severely hurt as he did, that it just becomes a poor hit and the game goes on.
Cheap shot.
It's a cheap shot, and that's just the way it goes. He breaks his neck, it carries on forward.
And the fact that his hockey career was over, I
Yeah.
think.
I think that's the factor. Like
That's the biggest
Bertuzzi's
factor.
made $30 million over the past 10 years, and Moore hasn't been able to make any money playing hockey. So I think, I'm sure he's been settled, with a decent reward, but it won't make up for him being able to do the thing that he enjoys doing, playing hockey.
Yeah, obviously.
Either that, or did he make more money off of that than he would have in his hockey career?
Yeah, that's
Very
another.
possible.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, nothing against Steve Moore, no disrespect, but he wasn't a front-line player by any means. He was a third or fourth-line guy at best. At that time, he was playing with Colorado. Colorado was a decent team at that time, but I don't think he was ever going to be a front-end player.
He wasn't going to be the top-end guy, high-paid guy.
No, he was $1 million a year guy at the most, probably over his career, I would assume.
So anything he got more than 10 is more than he probably would have in his career.
Do you think there was also the ability to make a settlement out of court? This is where, people are going to think I'm nuts. Well, people already think I'm nuts, but they'll think I'm just that much more crazier when I say this. Todd Bertuzzi, yeah, he did get to continue playing hockey and do something he loved. But I think Todd Bertuzzi showed a lot of remorse. I know he broke down and people were, trying to, I think my mic's going here a little bit, but people were trying to gauge whether that was real or not. But I think he showed a lot of remorse, did he not?
Yeah, I think so for sure. And,
there's no question.
Yeah, he never ever intentionally went in there to hurt him severely and end his career. He wanted to give him a shot and let him know what's going on. And as we spoke about earlier, the circumstances afterwards it was compounded everything. And I don't even think it was the initial punch. Is when he landed on the ice. And, when you see a lot of these guys get concussions, and when their heads hit the ice or heads hit the ground, that's when the actual injuries take place, not necessarily with the hit.
You hate to say it, but I mean, hockey has a history of having, a little more rough, fighting type events happen in the game. And when you do that, and I played a little bit earlier in my life, you don't intend to ever hurt anybody like that. So, I mean, I agree with you guys 100%. He totally showed remorse. And, there was no intention to hurt him to that level that he did. So
He was playing his own role, right? That was
absolutely.
Bertuzzi's role.
For sure.
That's
Well, again, I think Todd Bertuzzi is a better hockey player than people give him credit for.
Oh, but at that time, that was pretty much the role he was handed.
Player.
And
Yeah. Adam has tweeted in, and he said Bertuzzi should have not have been able to play hockey for as long as Moore has not been able to play hockey. And some people feel that Todd should have been out as long as Moore.
But that goes to suspensions in hockey nowadays. When someone gets hurt or breaks a leg, they say you shouldn't play until that player is able to come back. Well, I mean, if I'm a team that has a fourth-line player break a leg, are you going to hold them out longer if you're playing that team in the playoffs so that player can't play? So there's really a fine line there. I don't disagree, but it is a very fine line on that, serve your suspension as long as the other player's out. That's a tough one to.
I'll throw this out, and then we'll move on to our next topic. This was 10 years ago, and the game has changed a lot in 10 years. You look at the way it's called now, the clutch and grabbing's gone, the sticks, everything. It's really changed a lot in 10 years. Did this incident escalate that and bring it to this point?
I'm sure it helped them make additional rules and definitely enforce more on the ice.
Yeah, no? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows where it was going? But in mainstream, when they want to bring hockey mainstream, they're not going to allow the violence like that to occur. So one way or another, they were going to curb all those incidents.
Well, they talk about taking fighting out of hockey, and I mean, you hear it every year at different levels. And I mean, the best hockey you ever see is in the Olympics, and you don't see a single fight either. So, I mean, I'm always one that's enjoyed. Well, there's been some pretty good hockey.
There's been some great games, but you got to remember too, in the Olympics, you have basically all-star teams for every team,
yeah.
and you don't have that in the NHL. They're not all all-star teams.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the arguments right away that comes to mind with that. Is that you got the best of the best from each country playing on the same team. So you got the best players in the world. You don't have the third or fourth line guys. Guys that are on first lines are playing third or fourth lines in the Olympics because of the depth. Okay, so that's one big difference there. Also, in the Olympics, the rules are that much more, stern
But even in the playoffs in the NHL, I mean, there's a lot less
yeah,
fighting in
but
the
how
playoffs.
boring were some of the games because of just the lack of creativity and just everything was so systematic.
Yeah. Well, they've taken checking out of hockey.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, everything was,
they're trying to take
you know,
fighting out. I mean, they're trying to speed the game up, which I don't disagree with to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in this case, I don't think Bertuzzi's thing had as much bearing as a lot of people think as where the rules have gone. I think more of that summit they had back,
Mm-hmm.
with the, everybody trying to change the game and that. So I think it's changed for the good, and hopefully it keeps changing and gets faster and the game goes on. Eh?
All right, let's leave that at that. We're going to get into our next topic quickly. Johnny Manziel, we're going to talk some football. Johnny Football, boy oh boy. Looks like he had a good shot at becoming the #1 guy in Cleveland. I think he threw that all away when he made a gesture. I know our producer has it. He made a gesture. He was playing Monday Night Football in Washington. He gets taken down at the Washington bench, gets chirped a little bit, and yeah, he salutes them. I love it, I guess. I don't know.
It's all part of sports.
I think he thought
Is it though?
I think
It
he
is.
thought it was first down, and he was just
I thought that's what he was indicating. First down.
First
Yeah,
down.
I was waiting for him to go like this. Yeah.
exactly.
It's a non-starter to me. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, guys on the football field, what don't you hear? Guys are dropping F-bombs to guys and all
Yeah,
the time. There's
but
no
they're not
reason.
signaling them.
What's worse?
I don't know.
It wasn't
I
that
mean-
one specific person, right? He doesn't know. He doesn't
it's
necessarily
the
know who it
entire
was.
team.
So yeah. So obviously
He doesn't know who said it.
That's
so.
right. Somebody's saying to him, and it's not like he walked up to them and confront them first.
Got
He's
in
just
their
walking
face,
away.
yeah.
Okay, okay, but
kind of like a
is
screw
there-
you. I'm here to play.
Is there not a kind of I guess, unwritten rule or a code of conduct as a professional?
I think you see that in different sports where someone,
What,
flips the
football
bird.
doesn't have it?
Oh, no, and I'm saying, and I think that shows a bit of the character. But again, he is under a lot of pressure. I mean, that was the second highest rated Monday Night Football preseason
Exhibition
game
game,
because of one player, Johnny Manziel playing, trying to earn that spot. So, I mean, that, there's a lot of pressure on him, more than probably any other player on that field because of that.
What's he? 21, 22 years old.
21 years old.
And he's going to be remembered.
Oh, he's going to
That's
be
it.
remembered
He's gonna be
for all the
remembered.
wrong reasons,
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah.
Is that the problem, though? Is that the point here? Is it because of the pressure that's on this guy?
A lot of it has to do with the pressure of the guy, and it could be the attitude of him as well. Like maybe that's just him. That's his attitude.
there's some-
Well, definitely
Major
it is.
attitude.
Definitely is him. But even earlier in the game, if you saw like on his second play or third play, he gets sacked by Kerrigan. Sacks him. They don't block him, but he gets sacked. And then another guy jumps up and had nothing to do with the play, and he does what Johnny Manziel does. He does the money sign, and that guy had nothing to do with the play, and he's just taunting him. So obviously, Washington went in this game thinking we're going to try and get to this kid. This kid comes in with all this fanfare. We're going to try and put him into his place, and and did they get to him? Maybe a little bit, but it was flippant. He walked. They heard something, shot him the finger, and moved on. It's for him. It's not a big deal. And
For him, it's not.
And I agree.
But
it's not a
again,
I think
you
it's
gotta
only
talk
because the
about-
camera caught it.
He was...
Well, whatever. I mean, you got to remember, there's hundreds of cameras on
Yeah.
an NFL game.
He was on a radio station today, and I heard him talking about, I'm 21, and as long as I go out on the field and show my abilities, what I do off the field shouldn't be anybody's
that wasn't
opinion.
off the field.
But I'm saying, that's my point. He loses sight of what a professional is supposed to be, someone that kids are supposed to look up to. He's trying to earn his
There's your
teammates.
point.
He's trying to earn his teammates' respect. Okay, he's a first-year player. Did they let them come in on that first play of the game, or second play of the game, that teach them a lesson, keep
and
your
you-
mouth shut, or we won't be there for you?
And
Like,
then you
those are the
mentioned he's
type of
trying to earn
things.
their respect. Well, you know what? These guys are chirping him. Is he going to just sit there and take it? No, you showed that, listen, I'm here to play. Yeah, go ahead and talk your garbage.
But see, I'd rather
But
him
I'm
go in there and drill somebody in the bench
Exactly.
than
Instead
do
of
it
that's
by
not
doing
work.
Not
Yeah.
that can't happen. Now we're talking back. What if he does that? He breaks his neck. No,
Yeah.
no.
Well, they got the braces and the heavier equipment on.
But that's it. I think
Yeah.
if I'm coaching that team, I don't want Johnny flipping them the bird. I want him to go out and pound that team. I want him to go throw a touchdown against that team. That's the best way to answer.
Well, they
it,
did
right?
make some comments, the ownership and the coaching staff, but then the show I was listening to today said, well, if he would have marched them down the field 3 times in that game, and it wouldn't have been an issue. But because he's struggling and the team struggled that game, it's more of an issue because of that. If he had scored 3 touchdown passes or whatever, they would have thought it was great and just blew it off.
Isn't that part of the makeup of a professional athlete in any sport? That mental preparation and being ready to take the garbage, the chirping, the fans either chirping you, whatever, during the course of a game.
But you're still talking, he's trying to make this club, and he's still a young man.
He's there, though.
Right? It's the difference between a 21-year-old and a 27-year-old. Someone that's been around a little bit longer, has developed a little bit more, and can hold themselves back a little more than he just did.
And he's not the first person doing this.
We had a situation with the
Matthews do this a couple
Spitfires
years
where
ago?
a player walked off the ice, okay? I mean, a 21-year-old kid as well. There's emotions in these heated situations, and sometimes your emotions get the best of you. I mean, we all coach and have done things that we regret at times and things like that. But the older you get,
Not you.
Never in my life.
You're an
And some
angel wing.
athletes make a career out of it. Look at Kenny Rogers, the pitcher. You make a career out of stuff like that.
And that's right. And I mean, again, I think it's youthful enthusiasm, and he likes to party. And you know what? In a couple of years, when he is the starter and he realizes all the mistakes he made, he's going to be a superstar.
And you know what? And you say emotions. I don't think it got to him emotionally. I still think he was still under control. He heard it and says, whatever, here it is.
Whatever, here you go. Flip you the bird.
What's going on? Because he didn't make a big deal of it.
Yeah,
he just did it real quick, and away he goes. So I don't think emotionally he was really involved in it. Yeah, they got to him a little bit, but after he did that, he moved on. It
was very brief. It wasn't like he went, faced him, and made a big gesture.
I think the only reason why, again, this is being put out there is because of the reputation he came into the league with. Let's face it, this guy's a partier. He's a free-spirited young man. And I do agree with some of his comments that he's made off the field and away from the field. What I do is my business. I enjoy life. I have no issue with that, just as long as you do your job on the field. Or when
is he going to put butts in the stands? That's it.
He always will.
Well, he's going to. I mean,
That's
if you went to the game against the Lions, the first game against the Lions, I'll tell you what, there was a huge contingent of Cleveland Brown fans that made the trip to watch Johnny Manziel.
And it was sold
and there were a lot of Detroit fans wearing Manziel jerseys.
Yeah.
He's just. People want to gravitate him. He's very polarizing. You're either going to love him or you're going to hate him. And if you hate him, you're going to hate him with everything you got.
And you're still going to go watch him.
Absolutely. And you know what? And that's what the NFL wants.
That's exactly how.
Do they really care? Look at how much more we're talking about.
You don't think Cleveland took him in the 22nd just because they know he's going to put seats in their building or people in their
but they
seats?
did talk to him. I saw it on the sideline, and there's video of that as well, where they pulled him aside and talked to him. You could see he was flustered and probably did say, yeah, I shouldn't have done that at that point, and maybe just got his bearings to get back together. Johnny football, keep it going, buddy. It's all good. We've got about 8 more minutes. You know what? We're going to take a quick timeout first. We'll check in with some of our partners here and come back. We're going to finish off with some Tiger baseball talk right here on the Sports Den.
Adding new products or services to your brochure? Updating those drab business cards? Or looking to create a striking window display? In need of some screen-printed signs for that construction site or promotional campaign? Posters, vehicle wraps, and a whole lot more. At Angel Star Digital, our expert design and production team are ready to meet all your promotional needs. For samples of our work, check out our website at www.angelstardigital.com, or you can call us at 519-969-0712. That's 519-969-0712.
Bye.
Great. My car's blocked in.
I got this. I think the parking brake is on. Geez, what's in this thing? Rocks?
Welcome back to the Sports Den. Thanks for sticking around. Domenic Papa with you. Eric wrote in, tweeted in, and to just talk about the Johnny Manziel stuff. He said Johnny Manziel will be the MVP and win a Super Bowl within a couple of years. Boy, they got to love that in Cleveland, I'll tell you, if that indeed does happen. Greg Primack is with us, also Patrick Plummer. Joel Manerick is with us. And again, at the end of this show, one of these three guys is going to take the Ice Bucket Challenge. If you haven't guessed yet, tweet in. You can Twitter into us at Sports Den Live. Let me know who you think it is. We'll show it to you, actually, and he's going to issue a challenge of his own. We're going to finish off this week's edition of the Den talking Tigers baseball. Okay, this team's struggling, no question about that. They have a lot of injury problems, no question about that. They can't use that as an excuse. I don't think they want to or they will. But the real question mark now is, will they make the playoffs? I mean, they're not even into the second wild card spot to get into the playoffs. So they're not even in the playoff picture right now as of today. Will they make the playoffs?
I don't think there's any doubt they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, right now you're sitting on the number one pitching rotation in baseball. There's no question. And two of their top pitchers are hurt at this point. Expected back by the end of the month, hopefully.
Is that enough time, though?
You still got all of September for them to do some injury work, get out into Toledo and pitch a few games, get back in.
Toledo, there's nobody in Toledo. There's nothing going on in Toledo.
Doesn't matter, but they could get some work, some bullpen work,
Okay.
and get back in there. Spend the month of September getting ready, and we all know Verlander is a playoff pitcher.
I don't think there's any doubt they have the best starting pitching in baseball. I mean, when they picked up Price, I think the problem was everybody.
Oakland
and you've
hasn't
seen
hurt
it.
themselves.
Well, yeah, they did, but I mean, Kansas City is the hottest team in baseball
They are.
right now. I mean, I'm not a Tiger fan. I'm a Jays fan, and they won today.
Love the Jays this year.
And again, people talk about the injuries in Detroit. Well, Toronto's lost Lind and Laurie and then Encarnacion
was
for
out for a
50
while,
games.
yeah.
They're second, third, and fourth best players, and they're still hanging around. But, I mean, yeah, Detroit should be there, but Nathan has been horrible for them. Their hitting hasn't been good. Miguel Cabrera hasn't been healthy. So, I mean, if all the cards fall in place, they should make the playoffs. But, again, nothing's guaranteed until you play the games.
For the last 4 years, it's kind of been the same thing.
Yes.
They take these swoons and then they crank it back up again. So they're a professional team and they know what's got to be done. And pitching was never the issue for them when it got to playoffs. It's always been the hitting. So and then it's going to hold true again this year, right? It's never the pitching, even though Nathan's terrible and whoever else they want to put back there hasn't been done well. Well, if you come in with a 4 or 5 run lead, you don't have to really worry too much about that. So I think that's what really
But
needs
they've
to
had
get.
to worry with 4 or
Well,
5
they've
runs.
had,
They
they've had the
have
best.
with Nathan.
They've had the best hitting in the last couple of years, and come playoff time, like Fielder
Bats are
was
dried.
horrible. Their
Bats
bats
fall
have
apart.
dried up, and again, you just hope for the Tiger fans that it does all come together. But
Every year after the All-Star break, the Tigers fall. They go down. August
they
seems to
haven't
be
fallen like this.
Not
No,
like
no,
this,
but-
though. Yeah.
No, but they
Hard
fall.
games.
Okay, if you look at what's there,
I mean, let's face it.
and it
They
is a
have
first.
to ride.
It's a first year for this coach as well.
Yeah, they're
They're
really
playing
riding.
different baseball.
They're really. I don't think
Trying
it's been that
to.
different. They don't. They're still not stealing bases. They got Rajay Davis.
Second highest,
from
second
the
highest
Jays.
in the American League. I just heard stealing bases, but since the All-Star break, they haven't been because they haven't been in a position to. They've been trailing a
They're
lot
not-
more in games, and you
They're
can't
not playing
put
the ball they
yourself-
were at the beginning of the season,
That's right.
Okay.
which we know they're capable of playing. Obviously, watching the miracle. that they
I've
were
got
doing.
about a minute, guys. I just want to get a comment from each of you. Miguel Cabrera, you mentioned him, Greg, hurting. I still think he is hurting. I agree with you. How important is it that they get him going? Do they need to rest him for a bit? Can they afford to rest him?
They can't afford to right now in
They
the
can't
position
afford to.
they're in. And again, him at 50% is better than most players at 100%. So.
I think the way he gets in is continue to battle it and continue to play. I don't think it's a debilitating injury. These guys just bother him. These guys got to play through it.
Okay, good stuff.
He's the
Greg?
best baseball player on the planet. There's no
Well,
question.
he is when he's healthy, for sure. Greg, thanks for
Batista.
coming in. Batista. Patrick, good stuff. You want to give it a shout-out? Give it a shout-out.
I know Luke Wilson was pretty good when he played.
Good stuff,
Luke
guys.
Wilson.
Good stuff. Speaking of things coming up right here on WE TV, following this weekend, our debut of AKO Fratman football here on we-tv.ca. Saturday, August 30th, they'll be at home at Windsor Stadium taking on the Ottawa Sooners, and you can watch it exclusively here on WE TV. We'll have 6:30 pregame show for you, and also the kickoff at 7 p.m. We'll be following the AKO Fratman all year long on we-tv. As I mentioned, a nice bucket challenge has been issued to one of our panelists today. So we are going to finish off the show and take it outdoors, and a challenge has also been issued by the recipient of the ice bucket. So let's roll the tape and go to that now. We'll see you again next week right here on the Sports Den. Well, as you can see, we've taken to the outdoors, and we're going to finish off this week's edition of the Sports Den outside. This brave man, Joe Monerick, is going to take the ice bucket challenge. He's been challenged, he's accepted it, and he's going to issue a couple of challenges of his own. Joe?
Yeah, for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, I challenge, after I get dumped on tonight, I'm going to challenge Perry Marchese, head coach, St. Mary's University, Michael LaChance, head coach, AKO Fratman, and Rob Underhill, the head coach of the Hamilton Hurricanes varsity team. Here we go.
Here we go. See you next week on the Sports Den.